Hi guys, this is gsndon.com and I'm here with the Sony Xperia Z3. It was announced in September at IFA 2014 in Berlin and we have it for testing here. I would have to say we're very familiar with the Xperia Z series. We have tested the Xperia Z, the Z1, Z1 Compact, the Z2, and now the Z3 is right here for a detailed and full review. It's priced at around $600 internationally, so the price tag is, I would say, reasonable compared to the launch prices of other devices. We're playing here with the dual SIM 16GB white version of the Sony Xperia Z3. The design, well, this model comes in white, black, green or brown. It measures 7.3mm in thickness, which is certainly less than the 8.2mm of the predecessor, the Xperia Z2. It weighs 152 grams, while the Xperia Z2 weighed 163 grams. It keeps the two glass panels, glass panel at the back, glass panel at the front, and this is just like the predecessors. We have a smaller bezel than the Xperia Z2 for the screen, as you can see. We also have rounded edges this time for a better grip and in order not to cut into your palm, as I was complaining about the predecessor. These rounded edges offer a better grip and a much more comfy hold of the device in your hand. The edges are made of metal and the frame of the device is made of aluminum that has been rounded, and it's mate and looks pretty good. This model is pretty slippery because of the glass surfaces at the back and at the front, but you already knew that from the predecessor. It has the same 5.2-inch diagonal of the Z2. It has an elegant design, but frankly speaking, only if you prefer glass, you will prefer the Sony Xperia Z3 to another handset from another company. It's also IP68 certified, which means it's dust and waterproof. As far as the waterproofing goes, it can stand up to 1.5 meters in depth for up to 30 minutes, so that's how much it can be sunk. It has an aluminum frame, just like I told you before, and guess what? The corners, you can see here, they're a separate material. This corner, this one and this one, they're made of nylon to protect them from chipping when you're dropping the phone on the floor. On the front side, we have the dual stereo speakers, one here and one here, and also the front we have the front camera and sensors in this area, and here you can find the LED right here for notifications and stuff like that, hidden under the case. Okay, and now at the back we have the main camera and flash below, plus nothing else. At the top there is the audio jack and a microphone next to it, and keep in mind that the top is also rounded, as you can see, while at the bottom there is absolutely nothing. Once again, a rounded metal. And on the right side we have a dual SIM slot. This one here is a dual nano SIM slot as far as I know on this device. The lid is easier to open than on the predecessors, but frankly speaking I was not able to pull out the nano SIM trays. I tried it for many minutes and just couldn't bring myself to do it. So maybe you need a longer fingernail, but I just couldn't manage it. Also on the right side we have the trademark on-off button with its metal material. We also have the volume button and the camera button, all of them with good feedback and no problem here. Now on the left side we have another flap that we can open very easily. There's the micro USB port and the micro SD card slot, once again easily accessible. Then we have the dock connector pins right here and the lanyard hole right here. Overall this is a premium design, and aside from the slippery surface and the nasty SIM access, I would say we're doing pretty fine. Now on the hardware side we get a 5.2-inch screen. This one is a Full HD IPS LCD with triluminous technology and also X-Reality technology. The processor available here is a quad-core Snapdragon 801. This one is a 2.5 GHz CPU. The Xperia Z2, the predecessor, had a Snapdragon 801 as well. However, that was clocked at 2.3 GHz, so lower than this one. If you really want numbers and figures, you should know that the Xperia Z2 had a Qualcomm MSM 897 4AB, and the Xperia Z3 that I'm using here has the Qualcomm MSM 897 4AC, just in case you felt the need to know that. The GPU is the Adreno 330, and we also have 3 GB of RAM inside. Both the GPU and the RAM are exactly the same as on the Xperia Z2. The storage is 16 GB, of which 12 gigabytes are free. There's also a micro SD card slot with support for up to 128 gigabytes. As far as the camera goes, 20.7 megapixel back camera with a 1 on 2.3 inch sensor, just like the Xperia Z2, while at the front we have a 2.2 megapixel camera, once again the same as the Xperia Z2. In the section I like to call connectivity, we have NFC, Bluetooth 4.0, LTE, HSPA, there's Wi-Fi 802.11 and support for A, B, G and AC Wi-Fi. We got dual band, Wi-Fi direct DLNA and micro USB 2.0 with MHL. There's also GLONASS and ANT Plus for fitness and FM radio, and finally Miracast, and we've got USB OTG. Finally, there are stereo speakers, an accelerometer, gyroscope, compacts and proximity sensor. There's a lithium-ion battery inside with a capacity of 3100 mAh. The Xperia Z2 had 3200 mAh, so we're registering here a bit of a drop. And now we also tested the battery, obviously, so let's see how it did. First things first, on paper, the Xperia Z3 battery offers 16 hours of talk time, 920 hours of standby, 130 hours of music, or 10 hours of video. In our test, that usually involves brightness of 50%, Wi-Fi on and a video loop in HD, we achieved 11 hours sharp. As you can see, full 11 hours of HD video playback with Wi-Fi on and brightness of 50%, which is very good. Other things you should know here is that since this model achieved 11 hours and I said it's doing fine, you must also have some comparison terms. The iPhone 6, 11 hours and 30 minutes, the Xperia Z2, 11 hours and 3 minutes, Galaxy S5, 11 hours and 4 minutes, HTC One M8, 10 hours and 15 minutes, so I would say, once again, we're doing just fine. The problem here is mostly with the charging. It took me 3 hours and 30 minutes to fully charge the battery, which is not okay. The charger is a 1500 mAh unit and a 5-volt unit as well. Basically, you'll be able to reach the Sony promised 2 days of functioning without a problem. So that's great as far as the battery is concerned. Obviously, we can go to the settings area and explore the battery options a bit more. We got power management with a big estimation at the top. You can see it right here, how long your battery should work considering your usage patterns. Here you can find the stamina mode that, once activated, brings a few interesting options. So you can actually keep it always on or activate it at certain levels. We got extended standby, so it disables mobile data and Wi-Fi when the screen is off, and you can allow certain apps to function in that mode, or better said, even in that mode. There is an option called extended usage that restricts the device performance to increase battery life, and the stamina clock that saves power if you use the device as a watch and only check time on it. That was the stamina mode. Then comes the new and interesting ultra stamina mode. Since the Galaxy S5 had ultra power saving, this one has ultra stamina mode. This is what it does. Basically, it takes you to a more basic level of functioning. It only allows certain apps to work, disables data, disables Wi-Fi, and only allows basic features like phone calling, texting, contacts, camera, album, calendar, alarm clock, calculator, FM radio, and that's it. Everything has been minimized, all the options are being kept to a minimal, the background is gray, everything just to save power. Okay, and now I'm going to go to power management, deactivate this mode, which may take a bit. So once again, the ultra stamina mode is supposed to greatly prolong your usage time. So I would say it makes the usage time 5-fold. You should basically get a week of usage with 100%, which is quite impressive. It only offers basic features, a gray background, no Wi-Fi or data, and only those basic features, and that's it. So if you want a week from your phone, a week of usage, you'll have to use ultra stamina mode. There are also other modes that we'll see in a minute. As you can see, powering up and down the ultra stamina mode will power on or off your device. Still waiting, pretty long boot time. This is something characteristic to the Xperia devices, the long boot times. Here we go, back to the settings area, back to the battery, and let's show you some more stuff. So stamina mode checked, ultra stamina mode checked, and low battery mode. Let's see what this one does. We can activate or deactivate certain features at certain levels of battery, so you can tweak the brightness, screen timeout, deactivate mobile data, Bluetooth, GPS, vibration, and you can do that at certain percentages that you can select here, so nothing totally innovative in this area. Then there is also location-based Wi-Fi, so Wi-Fi activates automatically when you're in the range of a safe Wi-Fi network. You can also queue background data, so you can save battery by sending background data at set intervals. We also have an app power consumption report, battery usage, and that's pretty much it in the battery section. Once again, good battery, poor charging, and that's everything you need to know about this device. Now, as far as the acoustics are concerned, we get stereo speakers in here. The Xperia Z2 also had stereo speakers, however this time those are more discreet, more subtle and smaller. So let's get to the interesting bits, which are the Walkman player. As usual, the Walkman player is the best player in the whole Android world. We have a transparent UI, we have very fluid motions here, and the usual organization in artists, albums, songs, folder, playlists, and devices. Okay, what else to see here? We got MP3 support, obviously, AAC, Wave, and FLAC. And if you're in the in-play window and you tap on this area, you'll see more options like adding to a playlist, like checking out more data, favoriting, and if you press this option you can find more music videos on YouTube, search artist info on Wikipedia, search lyrics on Google, or search even karaoke videos or more extensions for your application. And now let's see the actual options of the player. We got Clear Audio Plus, Throw, you can download the music info if you need that. We got media server options, you can share your media, edit music info. We got a visualizer, looking hot as usual, with a bunch of sub options as well, like a bunch of themes, animal, albums, graffiti, ink, random. Let's go back to the options and find more interesting stuff. So as I said, we're in the settings area with the sound effects, and let's discuss them one by one. Clear Audio Plus will optimize the sound settings and give you the best acoustic setup depending on the song. It will also accentuate details. Then we got the sound effects area with a ton of sub options. So we got the equalizer with 5 custom channels and a clear bass option that you can play with. And aside from the custom options, there are presets associated to various genres of music. Then there is this mode called DSEE-HX. It upgrades the quality of compressed music to near high resolution audio by restoring high range sound. I tried it but couldn't exactly feel its contribution to the music effects. Then we got surround with options like studio, club, concert hall, so that's it as far as the surround is concerned. And the S-Force front surround that reproduces realistic surround when you're listening to music. This one actually works, as you'll see in a minute now. So let's go further. We also have the dynamic normalizer that minimizes volume difference between tunes or videos. Special options for the headphones. You can actually select your pair, and this actually changes the experience. In my experience, we got noise cancelling, and we have an option called high-res audio via USB. You can play high-res audio using your USB DAC amp. Finally, there's microphone sensitivity with a few sub options like auto, high, medium, or low. And now let's get to the actual listening. Let's play a tune, apply some options, and have some fun with it. Okay, so you just saw all the options being applied. I have to say that the sound is loud, crisp, clear. We have good bass and all the notes are here, which is not something that most smartphones can say nowadays. The back of the phone vibrates a lot, and I do mean a lot. You can actually feel the piece of glass vibrating in your hand. And now let's check out the headphones. My unit, my Xperia Z3 dual SIM unit, came with the stereo headset Sony MH750. Can guarantee yours will come with it as well. It's comfy, it sits well in the ear, it has a pretty big remote if you ask me, and big is usually uncomfortable nowadays. However, this headset is very loud, it has excellent noise cancelling, good bass, and once again comfy and sits well in the ear. Also, those settings that are tailor-made for headphones are actually felt, especially the one that is addressed to a certain pair of headphones. And now let's see something here. Let's check out the actual settings. So if you go into the settings area and find sound, you'll see options like audio settings that you already knew here, nothing extra, and volumes, these ones. We got increased ringtone, vibrator rigging, and that's pretty much it. We also have FM radio on board, obviously, so let's find it. Here we go, FM radio. We should actually use the headset to get it to work. That's more like it. So that's the FM radio app with the custom-made interface that doesn't resemble other devices. We got features like track ID, post to Facebook, search for channels, playing speaker, force mono sound, and even a visualizer for the good old radio to play with. I found tracks pretty easily, the acoustic experience was quite nice, so everything is okay here. Overall, I would call this handset, as far as the acoustics are concerned, above the Galaxy S5 and the Sony Xperia Z2, but only slightly. As far as the decibels are concerned, we even tested that. We used a special decibel meter, and let's see what came out. This is the phone facing up. We achieved 84.1 decibels, and this is the phone facing down. We should also have a sample of that here. Anyway, we have 84.1 decibels at the front and 77.9 decibels at the back because the speakers are at the front. For the sake of comparison, the LG G3 has 87.4 decibels, the iPhone 6 has 85.2 decibels, so those models are above this one. However, we did beat the iPhone 6 Plus and its 83.8 decibels, and I consider the Galaxy S5 inferior to those speakers. So pretty good acoustics if you ask me. Okay, now let's get rid of the headphones and let's discuss the display a bit and the video player on board of the Sony Xperia Z3. So this screen that you can see right here is a 5.2 incher, it's an IPS LCD, it's a Full HD one, although people were expecting Quad HD, all we got is Full HD. The pixel density is 424 ppi, we got triluminous technology and X reality. Sony implemented here a bunch of live color LEDs that combines red and green phosphor with blue LEDs for uniform lighting. We have a wider color range. Meanwhile, X reality will reduce the noise, optimize contrast, and reproduce those missing pixels and increase the sharpness as well. This one is not a QHD screen as people were expecting, but still it's okay. By the way, the predecessor and the handset before that were both Full HD phones. And now let's actually go to the Movies app and play our test video that goes something like this. We got a crisp image here, the screen is bright, colors are vibrant, I can see the details, I can actually spot some details that I couldn't on some phones. This is a very important aspect. We have good contrast, we have great viewing angles, vertically and horizontally. Okay, so those were the viewing angles. There's no motion blur here. And now I want to discuss a bit the Videos app that's called Movies in this case. It has MOV support and it also shows you previews of the video files in its main interface. There's a preview right here at the top. And now let's go back to the video and see what options Sony has prepared for us. Okay, so first things first, we have options related to subtitles. Subtitle settings, you can use custom settings, set up the font size, font color, edge type and edge color. and we also have background playback, so you can leave your video playing while you do other things. You can show the Let's Play video. We have media server settings if you're into that, get video details thanks to Grace Note, and that's the basic settings area. We also have other settings areas. We have options for throw, share, and also have audio settings, the exact same ones you saw in the music player. This time we also have special display settings. We have image enhancement with X Reality for mobile. Be prepared to check this out. So X Reality is now on. Everything is more vivid, slightly oversaturated, but in a tolerable way. However, there is an option that takes it up a notch even more. There is super vivid mode that, if you ask me, it exaggerates with the colors a lot. That's the super vivid mode, totally oversaturated, but some people like their colors to pop out. Okay, this is off now. We have glove mode to interact with the touchscreen while wearing gloves. We have a brightness option, and you can even adjust the white balance of the screen as you pleased in red, green or blue hues, or go back to default, and that's it. We also have screen rotation, sleep, and smart backlight control. Smart backlight keeps the screen on when you're holding the Xperia in your hand. The screen stays lit as long as you're holding the phone in your hand and not more. We got font size, we have double tap to wake up, and the notification light option. You can also pinch to zoom in the video, change the crop, and those are pretty much it when it comes to options related to your video playback. Okay, now let's discuss the screen even more. The pixels we're seeing here are of the RGB stripe kind. Don't believe me, believe our microscope. Here we go, album, this is it. We use the microscope and those are the pixels from the screen, RGB stripe. We also have a lux meter to play with, and it showed us a value of 400 lux units. The Xperia Z2 had 366 lux, so we beat it. The iPhone 6 has 570 lux, it beat us. Galaxy S5 480 lux, and the Xperia Z1 Compact 488 lux. I have to say that the brightness could be a bit higher, but still it does its job fine. I can't say you're missing out on the brightness while watching videos or playing games. And you can also tweak the screen settings here in the display area with image enhancement, glove mode, brightness, white balance, screen rotation, smart backlight control, font size, tap to wake up, and notification light. So that's pretty much it. I would have to say that the blacks are pretty deep for an IPS screen, and overall this is a very good display. It totally beats all the other screen on all the other Xperias that we've tested so far, so at least there's that, the best screen on an Xperia just yet. It doesn't beat the Galaxy S5 or the iPhone 6, so remember that. Now, as far as the camera is concerned, we're dealing with the same 20.7 megapixel sensor from the Xperia Z1 onwards. This time it supports 12,800 ISO level, and it uses a sensor that's of the Exmor S type, and it measures about half an inch or so. It offers 8x digital zoom, it has steady shot video stabilization and 1.12 micron pixels. It also relies on the 25mm G lens with f2.0 aperture, and it's wider than the one on the Z2. There's no optical image stabilization. At the front we have 2.2 megapixel selfie camera, and finally we have this physical camera button with 2 stages of capture. Now let's see the camera interface. So let's check it out and use our usual piece, our usual castle, to test the camera features. So this is the interface, quite good frame rate I have to say. So first things first, we have 2 main capture modes. There's the Superior Auto, you can see right here, and we got the manual. Those are the 2 standout modes from the camera. The Superior Auto mode uses auto-optimized settings and options, taking 8 megapixel shots. It has very good situation sensing. Right now there's a small macro symbol here. It has sensed that we're dealing with a macro. It usually detects very well the night scene, landscape and all that. On the left side of the screen we have the flash options with options like auto, fill flash, red eye reduction, off and flashlight. Then we have a front camera shortcut and then some settings. Aspect ratio, self timer, smile shutter, preview, burst with long press, face registration, and then for the video, self timer, smile shutter, steady shot with 3 options: intelligent active, standard and off. I should probably mention that Intelligent Active will estimate the movements and analyze dozens of frames for smoother and more stable videos. Let's see what else is here. We got preview, we got quick launch, geotagging, touch capture, use volume keys, a zoom, sound, data storage internally or via micro SD card, and finally touch block. Okay, and once again, good frame rate user interface. On the right side you can find the shutter button, video capture button, gallery shortcut, and we've also got the modes here. There's a lot of them, but you can even add more by downloading them from the web. Now let's select manual and see what happens here. We have a ton of options to play with. So first things first, let's change the resolution in order to gain access to all the cool settings. We have scene selection here with a variety of settings. So we got a lot of them: soft skin, soft snap, anti-motion blur, landscape, backlight correction, HDR, night portrait, night scene. There's even an option for pets, gourmet, beach, snow, sports, fireworks, and all that. And these are only the scenes that we got available here. Okay, and let's see what else. We also have the white balance and exposure to play with, the flash options, and now we have accessed the settings area where you can find the resolution. It can go up to 20.7 megapixels, which stands for 50-48 over 39-36 pixels in 4:3. You can go to 16:9 in 50-48 over 29:52, which is 15.5 megapixel. Or you can take 8 megapixel shots, which will trigger more options available for you. Let's see what else we got here. Once again, I must mention we have a lot of scenes and a lot of options to play with. And aside from the resolution, we have a self timer with options like 10 seconds, 2 seconds are off. We also have a smile shutter, focus modes, single, multi, face detection, touch focus, and object tracking. Then there's HDR, there's ISO going up to 3200 plus, as I said, 12,000 with a special mode, metering with options like face, multi-center or spot, image stabilizer, preview, and face registration. And then we've got quick launch, geotagging, touch capture, use volume keys, sound and data storage, and touch block. So these are pretty much all the interesting options we've got here. And now let's see what else there is available here. So if we switch to the video area, there are even more options to play with. We got scene selection, again, we got white balance and exposure, we got flash options, and finally resolution. In the resolution area, you can find stuff like video resolution, Full HD 30 frames per second, Full HD 60 frames per second, HD, self timer again, smile shutter, focus mode, HDR video, metering, steady shot, microphone, preview, and the other options that we already knew. Okay, so that's about it when it comes to the manual mode. And other thing that I must mention here is the fact that after you play with the modes for a long time and tweak them, play with them, activate new options, the temperature of the phone will rise and it will let you know that it has risen, and it may even close the camera app a few times while you're doing all of that. Now let's see the other modes. So we already checked out Superior Auto, manual. We got sound photo, it takes photos with a background sound like birds chirping or cars passing by. We have AR Fun, which is augmented reality with the option to add stuff to real images. So you can actually add stuff on top of the castle. I just thrown in some little dwarfs here, and I can also do a lot of stuff like flick stuff on the screen. I can even point letters here. I can draw an A, B, C, D, use a spray on the screen. So that's pretty much it. This is the AR Fun mode. We have a multi-camera mode. Suppose you have more Xperia devices laying around. Well, you can use multiple angles with multiple phones to create a really interesting and original shot. Let's see the other modes. So Superior Auto, manual, sound photo, AR Fun, multi-camera, facing. Basically, you use both the back camera and the front camera to put your face inside the picture. So you have the castle, and now I can integrate my face if I want to in the picture together with the castle. Next up, there's 4K video, so you can record video in ultra high definition. There's also time shift video. This one allows you to slow down the time, create slow motion videos using special effects and a higher frame rate. Other options available here. We got live on YouTube, background defocus. which offers you a series of options that will allow you to defocus the background, use a background blur horizontally or vertically in order to highlight what's in the foreground. Then there's AR effect, allowing you to play with a bunch of cool options like dinosaurs that you can add on the screen live. We already knew this option from previous Xperias, so soon you'll have dinosaurs walking all over the screen. This applies to both video and photo. It was fun to use on previous models, it's fun to use on this handset as well. We proceed even further. Let's see what else. We got creative effects, a huge amount of filters, and all of them have sub options, which is also impressive. So we got normal, which is the standard one, and we got brightness contrast with a sub option here. And then let's see what else. We also have hue saturation, mirror, motion effects, old film, motion train, nostalgic, miniature, tint, fisheye, color sketch, pencil sketch, comic, partial color, Harris shuttle, kaleidoscope, and all that. Okay, now let's see what's going on with the brightness, because it seems to have been dimmed a bit for some unknown reason. Okay, let's get back to the camera and see the other modes. That was live on YouTube, by the way. Okay, so face scene live on YouTube. As you can see, the device temperature is rising. If it continues to rise, the app recalls automatically. That's the biggest problem I have with this device, and with using the camera, the temperature keeps rising. We also have Info Eye that we already knew from previous Xperias. These ones will display info about landmarks, barcodes, books, QR codes, text, and business cards, so it comes in handy if you travel a lot or if you're a businessman. We also have time shift burst. It takes a series of shots before and after you press the shutter button, and then allows you to choose between them and select your favorite one. And let's see what else. We've got social live to share your experience with your friends on Facebook. We've got sweep panorama, Evernote, and as I said, a ton of downloadable applications, and in this case, camera modes. Okay, so now after everything is said and done, let's actually test the camera right here and right now. Let's take a picture of the castle. It will be a macro picture using the superior auto mode. As you can see, it focused fast and it took the picture reasonably fast. This is an 8 megapixel shot thanks to the superior auto option. I would say the level of detail is quite good. Of course, the noise appears after 2 or 3 zoom ins, but overall pretty good pictures. Honestly, I would prefer the superior auto mode in order not to get bugged by that huge amount of options available in the manual mode. Another thing I must mention, the touch zoom is a bit too fragile for my liking, as you can see. Too fragile, so you better use the volume buttons if you have to. And once again, I will highlight that I don't like at all the fact that the phone has temperature problems, especially when using the camera. Now I will go to the gallery, which is called album in this case, and let's check out the organization of the pictures, camera, and now let's check out the shots we've taken over the past week or so. So we have a huge amount of photos. As you can see, we really played with this camera, and the first impression would be that it's slightly underwhelming. Okay, and I would have to say that all the shots were taken on a very cloudy and cold day, and this is what came out. Shot 1 and shot 2 with HDR. As you can see, the HDR exaggerated a little bit in this case. It's very hard to take a macro using this camera. I cannot say I haven't tried. I've tried to use a lot of modes available on the device. None of them is the exact macro I would like. Maybe Superior Auto came the closest, but still not exactly the macro I imagined. Okay, so another sample of HDR. It feels like it's been bleached, so quite strange application of HDR. However, the colors look quite good on this cloudy day. The level of details is quite okay. And we proceed further with other shots. Brightness is pretty much okay. Once again, good colors and realistic ones, by the way. Pigeons in motion. Images look crisp. We also took a bunch of shots that showed us that augmented reality thingy. Here we are, this is the augmented reality, this is what we applied to a bench. Next up, I put my face in a shot to test that feature as well. We also did a panorama, which is pretty good, but not as wide as I would like it to be. Here it is, this is the panorama. It's stitched up pretty well, no artifacts. It moved fast, but I would have wanted a wider panorama. The quality of the pictures is frankly below the one of the Galaxy S5 and sometimes even below the Sony Xperia Z2, although it can produce some pretty good landscape shots, I have to say, especially when taking 20 megapixel shots that have very good details. A few of the models that beat this device: iPhone 6 Plus, Galaxy S5 and sometimes Sony Xperia Z2. The colors are cold, but it was a cold day, so that's that. Exposure and white balance are also pretty good, so nothing to complain here. These are all outside shots taken during daylight. We also have some inside shots, so let's keep straight to them. I will have to warn you, if you're hungry, these are all cake shots. This was an attempt at a macro, a pretty good one. It was taken inside with flash on. Another attempt, this one is actually even better. These come pretty close to my definition of a macro, but still they're not exactly what I wanted from a macro. I'm a perfectionist, I want a bit more. Some more shots, some have succeeded, some haven't succeeded, so my attempts at macros have failed most times, which is not okay. Of course, the 20 megapixel shots offer more detail than the regular shots. And then we go to the night capture. During the night time, we have okay colors, but not so good lighting. As soon as you hit a light source in front of you, the camera goes crazy. And once you start using the flash, like I did here, it spoils the picture pretty much. This is the effect of the flash on the picture, spoiling the fun. And this is a lollipop I tried macro on. Once again, a bit of a failure and a bit of oversaturation, probably due to the flash, so yet again a bit of disappointment in low light. We have poor low light capture, and here we go again. There is a yellowish hue on top of the images. The problems with the flash again. Too powerful for these shots. However, at night the colors are good, and that's what I was talking about. The camera has problems with light sources that it takes head on. The iPhone 6 Plus didn't have any problem with that, if you want the comparison. Once again, good colors at night, but quite big level of noise. It's way below Sony Xperia Z2 and iPhone 6 Plus, sadly. It's not very far from the Galaxy Note 4, that isn't exactly very good at night. The colors are okay overall, and we also tried background defocus, so let's find that. Here we are, background defocus. We got this statue here, and this is the background defocus, pretty much a useless option if you ask me. We also have sound photos taken just to test the feature, and this is an example of a sound photo. So there's that. Now we move over to the video section. As you can see, I'm not very thrilled with this camera, particularly in low light conditions. So this is a 4K video. Prepare not to be amazed. This is a 2160p video with a bitrate of 55 MB/s, weak stabilization, and the quality of the 4K video is clearly below the one of the Galaxy S5. We also have a time shift video or two to test that slow-mo feature. I have to admit that this one looks better than expected. For me, it beats the latest Samsung devices in quality. Many devices that film in slow motion will tend to drop quality. Well, this one doesn't drop quality in a huge way. This is a 120 frames per second slow-mo video. I would even call it better than the Galaxy Note 4, but not better than the slow-mo on the iPhones. And now let's go to the other videos. We also have a Full HD 30 frames per second video. Let's find it. We have 13 videos, so we totally played with the camera. This is it. Full HD 30 frames per second. Okay exposure, okay white balance, and pretty much okay focus and contrast. However, stabilization is pretty weak, as you can see. And now we move over to a video that had us testing the zoom. This is the area where we can see that the touch zoom is pretty weak and pretty sensitive, so once again I recommend you to use the volume buttons for zoom. Once again, quality is being dropped when you zoom in, sadly. We also have a 60 frames per second video with very good frame rate. Let's find it, should be here somewhere. This is 4K. I like the fact that each one is marked. This is 120 frames per second, this is 4K, and unlike the Samsung devices that got you lost in the menus. So this one is the 60 frames per second video, very crisp. This one is probably the best video I've taken. I consider it to be even above the 4K one. Very good frame rate, very crisp, 30 megapixel bitrate. By the way, the Full HD videos have an audio bitrate of 156 kilobytes per second, and the 30 frames per second vid drops to 17.5 megapixel bitrate. So overall, the daytime capture is below the Galaxy S5 and iPhone Plus, but not by very much. However, I do feel the need to say that once again, this model feels not exactly on par with the Xperia Z2. Obviously, the Z3 would have to be better than the Z2, but sometimes it feels a little less impressive than the Z2. Of course, as I said, it was a very cloudy day, it was very cold, so that may affect the performance of the device. We also have nighttime videos. Obviously, a lot of noise, yellowish hue, poor light source handling. However, it's decently lit even without flash. Stabilization remains bad, and let's see another video taken at night. Minor stutter there. Of course, you can see them on YouTube once the review is done. And now, since we're done with the camera, let's check out the organization of the shots. This is the application called Album, and it organizes your shots by home, camera, folders, favorites, faces, places, devices, Facebook, Picasa or Flickr. So with the trademark transparent menu, so that's that. I have to say that overall, let's draw some conclusions about the camera. I would say it plays in the same league as the HTC One M8. It's the second tier league of flagships. It has poor low light capture, the flash spoils the shots, it's very hard to achieve a macro, and we've got problems with overheating. It's about 30% less impressive than the camera of the Galaxy S5 and about 50% less impressive than its predecessor, the Sony Xperia Z2, so that's a bit of a bummer if you ask me. Now let's go to the camera again, pick a shot and see what happens when you try to edit it. So we got our castle from earlier, we're pressing this button and guess what? 3 options that allow you to edit shots. Let's try the first one, photo editor, with the stock options like filters, frames, crop, rotate, mirror, and the usual customizations. Let's try another one. We got photos that you already know, and sketch. Sketch will offer you the option to doodle on top of pictures, also add more effects, all sorts of pens, you can revert the image, apply some text if you want to. You can apply stickers, funny ones and funky ones, and use markers shaped like hearts and a variety of colors. So there's that type of editing. Okay, we're done with the camera at last. Now we're going to go to the performance area, and I'm going to discuss the temperature, which is not a very good subject for this device. Let's organize it by folders and check out our thermometer that showed us 44.7 degrees Celsius after playing 15 minutes of Riptide GP2. There's a slight bit of overheating here, and sometimes the device will restart when the temperature gets too high. So yes, the Xperia Z3 has overheating problems. Now we continue with the performance of the browser. Chrome is the stock browser here, and let's access gsmdom.com. And here we go. Not the fastest browser in the world, as you can see, but it does its job. Pinch to zoom works fine, and this is our website also in landscape. Back to the browser for a bit. This is the virtual keyboard of the device. It's comfy, it's well spaced, but if you ask me, it takes up too much space on the screen. That's just my opinion. You can also have suggestions at the top right here. Now, as far as the phone calling is concerned, this is a dual SIM model, and it comes with functions like smart dial. And I have to say that after calling some people and talking on the phone, it doesn't offer a very loud experience due to the waterproofing, just in case you were wondering, but the signal is pretty much okay. And now we're off to the area that nerds enjoy, and I mean benchmarks. and should be able to find the screenshots here somewhere, hidden among all of these game screenshots. Here we go. I decided to compare the Sony Xperia Z3 with its predecessor and a few other flagships, including an iOS one. So in quadrant, we achieved a score of 20,358, while the Xperia Z2 had 17,500, Galaxy S5 22,739, HTC One M8 24,217, and LG G3 22,235. Next up we got Antutu with a good score, 38,877. We beat the Xperia Z2 by 5,000 points. We beat the Galaxy S5 by 4,000 points. We beat the HTC One M8 by 4,000 points. And we even beat the LG G3 by 3,000 points. Meanwhile, the iPhone 6 Plus beat us with a huge score of 48,000. Next up, Nanomark 2, 59.7 frames per second. The Xperia Z2 has 59.8 and this one has 59.7, so minor difference. Galaxy S5 60.1, HTC One M8 59.3, LG G3 59.9, and next up, Velamo and the HTML5 test, 2771, very impressive result. The Xperia Z2 had only 1602, while the Galaxy S5 1645, HTC One M8 had 1716, LG G3 2499, and let's see what else. This is 3D Mark, iStorm Unlimited, a bit of a letdown if you ask me, 16,688, while the Xperia Z2 had 18,358, while the Galaxy S5 had 18,632, HTC One M8 17,570, LG G3 16,095, and finally the iPhone 6 Plus 17,925. This is the Geekbench 3 score, 968 in the single core test, 2697 in the multi-core score. Meanwhile, the Xperia Z2 registered 941 and 2748, so it beat us in the multi-core test. Galaxy S5 854 over 2553, HTC One M8 979 over 2900, and LG G3 960 over 2333. Meanwhile, the iPhone 6 Plus broke all the barriers with 1629 over 2922. GFX Bench, T-Rex off-screen 1080p test, disappointing 25.4 frames per second, Xperia Z2 had 27, Galaxy S5 had 27 as well, HTC One M8 28, LG G3 27.3, and iPhone 6 Plus a huge 44.8. In the speed test, the results were pretty close for each of the phones, 22 MB per second download, 24 in upload, while the Xperia Z2 had 22 and 23, Galaxy S5 23 and 24, HTC One M8 we didn't register it, and LG G3 20 and 21. Meanwhile, the iPhone 6 Plus 24 and 20. Browser mark, a reasonable score I would say, 1483. Xperia Z2 had 2884, which is pretty impressive, Galaxy S5 3250, but those were different versions of browser mark. The HTC One M8 2607 and LG G3 1187, probably the new version. On the iPhone 6 Plus, browser mark didn't even work. Finally, SunSpider, a bit of a letdown. This benchmark involves a result that the lower the better, so we have 966 ms, which is actually better than the Xperia Z2 and its 1000 score, but worse than the Galaxy S5 and its 400 score, also worse than the HTC One M8 and its 600 score, and worse than the LG G3 652 score. Obviously, the champion is the iPhone 6 Plus with its 363 points. So pretty much we won only 2 out of the 10 battles, and we have been below the Sony Xperia Z2 in quite a lot of the test. In spite of that, there is no lag to be felt here, and the device obviously can run any new 3D game. The interface is pretty much the same as the two predecessors, not much has changed, aside from the stock Google apps and some minor transparency options here and there, as the interface keeps lining up more and more to the one of the PlayStation 4. The operating system here is Android 4.4.4 KitKat, and multitasking is done like this, swiping like this, or closing all of them, and you can also use those little multi-windows, those floating windows that can be overlapped, so you can do more stuff at the same time. with a pretty good multitasking. Of course, it's not on par with what Samsung offers, but still it's nice. If you pinch the home screen, you'll see options like widgets, apps, wallpapers and themes. Some of the widgets are pretty cool. Most of them are what I would call stock, but some of them are typical for Sony. Quick Throw, Social Life, Stamina Mode, Track ID, Twitter, Weather, Voice Pilot and all that. And then we got apps, we got a bunch of cool wallpapers to play with, and themes that are specific for the Xperias, plus downloadable ones. This one is a minimalistic and nice user interface, one of the best on Android so far, but it's pretty much the same interface as 2 or 3 years ago and we need a new one. It sticks to the Sony identity and lines up with the PlayStation 4 and other Sony devices. However, people may feel the need of something new. If a person who uses an Xperia Z or Z1 meets a person who has an Xperia Z3, they probably want to feel different as far as owning a new device goes. In the drop-down area, you can find notifications and quick settings with a minimalistic black and white display here, nothing fancy, and a few useful options, obviously all of them editable. In the settings area, you'll find interesting stuff like Xperia connectivity with one-touch setup, so you can connect to other Xperias, throw settings if you want to throw content at various other devices, screen mirroring for Miracast, cast screen, media server settings, and you can even connect the device to a DualShock 3 or DualShock 4 joystick. We got mirror link and USB connectivity if you need that. You can also connect to a PlayStation 4 for PS4 remote play. There's personalization here with motion, like smart call handling. You can place the device to your ear to answer the call without pressing anything, reject to shake the device, or better said, shake to reject, and place the device face down to put the ringer off. We got themes, we got wallpapers, you can clear view notification and modify the status bar icon. Okay, let's see what else you got here. This is the home area. You can set it up for simple home if you want a more, let's say, elderly oriented interface that's simpler and based on tiles. We also have options for the dual SIMs available on this phone. Once again, it's the dual SIM version here. We have power management, tap and pay if you have a wallet here. Then there's security with screen lock, widgets on the lock screen allowed or not. Find my device with my Xperia feature. You can lock it and find it at a distance and erase it if you lost it. Then there's language and input with a few interesting options, like the one to use a one-handed keyboard that moves it to one corner of the screen so you can write with one hand better. So that's pretty much it in the settings area. That's everything you needed to know. And now we're off to the pre-installed application section. And first things first, we got a Play Store, we got Chrome, phone, Walkman, album, movies. We also have PlayStation. You can connect to your PSN account, check out your messages, and do some remote play. You can connect to the PlayStation 4 joystick, attach a special let's say latch that keeps the joystick on, and even remotely stream your games from the PS4 to this device. There's also the what's new section. It lets you know what's new in the world of Xperias as far as the, let's say, content is concerned, games, music, apps, wallpapers and all that. There's Sony Select, which pretty much does the same thing, focused on games this time and apps. Then there's Life Log, that's basically destined for fitness more than anything else. Facebook, Social Life, it hasn't gotten any better. I criticized it a few years ago and still it wants to be Flipboard, doesn't quite succeed. YouTube, email, calendar, looking pretty good. Tools, calculator and downloads, alarm and clocks, maps with its latest update, aligned to the lollipop look and working just fine on this device. Then we got FM radio, Track ID, which is the predecessor of Shazam, Smart Connect, Voice Pilot for Xperia. This is your navigation app. It may or may not be bundled with some of the models internationally. You may not get it. I did, so I'm pretty happy with it. We have a ton of speed cams shown here. Xperia Care, Gmail, Google+, Photos. There is the Play Suite, Play Books, Play Newsstand. Got News and Weather, Update Center, Play Games, Slide Me Market, AVG Antivirus, Office Suite, Evernote. There's a cute thing called Movie Creator. It works pretty much like the Zoe from HTC. It makes a weekly, monthly or yearly highlight of your pictures and videos. So if I want to see what I did Thursday night, this is what I did. These are all my samples taken at night. Now let's see what I did for a whole week. It also adds a cookie song in the background, pretty cool. There's Evernote, as I said, games, that leads you to nowhere, a link to GameLoft or something, Xperia Lounge, Dropbox, Sketch, Twitter, Drive, LinkedIn, and that's pretty much it, aside from the file commander and apps related to the camera. So, a pretty lengthy list and a bunch of bloatware included here as well. Now, before we get to the conclusion, there's one more thing I'd like to show you. So if you press the on-off button like this, you see that there is a cool feature here called Record Screen. And yes, you can record videos of your screen. So if you want to record an epic gameplay session or just your app, being a developer and all that, you'll be happy to know that finally you can capture video from your screen directly with an option from Sony. So thank you, Sony, for that. Now we're off to the verdict for the Xperia Z3. On the Pro side, we have the best looking Xperia phone flagship so far. We have a very good battery, 2 days of usage, and many power saving features. It has fast picture taking. It's a waterproof phone, it has screen recording as a plus, it has the most audio settings on a modern device, a good display, an excellent Walkman player that has no rival in the Android world, and it has one of the cutest Android user interfaces, but one that hasn't changed in a while. And then there's PlayStation 4 Remote Play, which is always a plus. On the cons side, there are also drawbacks here. It's a slippery phone that overheats, it's overpriced, the camera is below the Xperia Z2 sometimes, the charging takes too long, over 3 hours and a half, there is no optical image stabilization, it's very hard to take macros, it has poor low light capture, a slow browser, unimpressive benchmarks, bloatware, the same UI as before, and the seams are very hard to get out if you don't have long fingernails. I'm going to give this phone a 9.3 out of 10 for design, a 9.4 out of 10 for user interface and operating system, and I'm going to penalize it for the camera and overheating with an 8.4, with an 8.2 out of 10. So 9.3 for design, 8.2 for hardware, and 9.4 for OS and UI, for a final grade of 8.96 out of 10 for the Sony Xperia Z3. You are better off buying the Xperia Z2 right now, believe me. However, if you want a better design and some minor improvements that I mentioned before, like PS4 Remote Play, you maybe want the Z3. As I said, not much difference between the Z2 and the Z3. Sometimes the Z2 is even better in the camera area. So this is it, gsm.com review of the Sony Xperia Z3, 8.96 out of 10. Bye bye.